Imagine a dusty field at dawn, the kind a single tractor can change. Now imagine that tractor being assembled not in Europe or the US, but right here in Africa, built with Belarusian engineering and Ethiopian ambition. Today we're talking about a bold plan that could reshape farming across the continent. Ethiopia and Belarus teaming up to assemble and export agricultural machinery across Africa. Stick around, this is not just about tractors, it's about food, jobs, and a new kind of partnership. Note: Ethiopia and Belarus have been negotiating joint ventures to assemble Belarusian agricultural machinery in Ethiopia. Officials say the locally assembled machines could be marketed to other African nations. First, why this matters. Africa still cannot mechanize at the speed its agricultural potential needs. Smallholder farmers and larger commercial farms alike struggle with access to appropriate, affordable, and maintainable machines. Tractors and implements are not just metal. They unlock productivity, reduce drudgery, and can transform food security. When you hear Belarus, think of MTZ, the Minsk Tractor Works, a maker of durable, no-nonsense tractors with decades of experience. When you hear Ethiopia, think of a fast-growing, ambitious economy with one of Africa's largest populations and a government that has repeatedly pushed for agricultural modernization. The two coming together is a classic match of know-how plus local reach. What leaders on both sides are saying is also telling. Ethiopia's Foreign Minister Gideon Timotheos told reporters after a meeting in Minsk that the countries are concretely discussing joint ventures to assemble Belarusian machinery in Ethiopia, and that machinery assembled locally could be sold to other African nations, not just used domestically. That's a shift from simple export deals to regional manufacturing and value creation on African soil. So, how would this work, practically? The idea is not to ship finished tractors and call it a day. Instead, Belarusian producers, led by enterprises like MTZ, would provide the engineering blueprints, key components, and technical training. Ethiopian partners would provide factory space, local labor, and distribution networks across the Horn of Africa and beyond. Think assembly and partial local production, key imported parts, plus local assembly, plus gradually increasing local content. That approach shortens supply chains, creates local jobs, and lowers costs for buyers in Africa, who currently pay high shipping and import fees. Several official statements and coverage of recent meetings explicitly describe this model. Let's be candid about the advantages. Local assembly creates jobs, from factory floor staff to technicians, logistics, and salespeople. Maintenance becomes easier because spare parts and trained mechanics are closer to farms. Costs fall. When vehicles are assembled regionally, tariffs and transport add up less. Technology transfer is another big one. Over time, Ethiopian technicians learn engineering, quality control, and supply chain management. All of those benefits add up into stronger agro-value chains and more resilient local economies. Several reports highlight exactly these goals as the motivation behind negotiations. But, and you knew this was coming, there are real challenges. First, the quality bar. Farmers need machines that are reliable under harsh field conditions and can be repaired with locally available parts. If the assembled tractors don't match international durability standards, buyers will lose trust. Second, financing. Farmers and small cooperatives typically cannot buy tractors outright. They need credit, leasing, or hire services. The project, therefore, must be paired with creative financing and after-sales support. Third, logistics and part supply chains. If essential engine components or electronics are delayed or blocked, assembly lines stall. Finally, political risk and sanctions matter. Belarusian trade patterns have shifted recently, and some parts of the market are complicated by sanctions and shifting geopolitics. Reports about Belarus redirecting exports and expanding to Africa are already circulating. Now, let's break this down like friends over coffee. What would an Ethiopian-Belarus joint venture look like on the ground? Picture a modest industrial park near Addis Ababa with a clean assembly hall, 100 to 300 workers, a training school next door, and a showroom for farmers. Belarus supplies the chassis, engines, and technical supervisors early on. Ethiopia supplies labor, infrastructure, and the local business networks. Over time, as confidence grows, local suppliers start providing sheet metal parts, wiring looms, tires, and implements. gradually raising the percentage of locally sourced value. This phased localization is how many global automakers and machinery companies have successfully entered new regions. Media coverage and official statements indicate precisely this gradual model is what both sides are eyeing. Let's talk models and use cases. Not every farmer needs a 200 horsepower behemoth. Many African farms need compact, versatile, and affordable machines: plowing, seeding, hauling, and powering milling or irrigation pumps. Belarusian factories make a range of tractors from small to heavy, and the plan would likely focus first on mid-range, robust models adapted for African soils and cropping systems. For smallholders, the winning business model sometimes isn't selling tractors at all. It's enabling tractor hire businesses or cooperatives that supply mechanization services to dozens or hundreds of farmers. That's where financing and local entrepreneurship become vital. Analysts have pointed out that Belarus's range of models and reputation for ruggedness make it a plausible supplier for these needs. We should also talk geopolitics, because nothing in international manufacturing happens in a vacuum. Belarus has been expanding economic ties with Africa during a period when its trade with parts of Europe has been constrained. That pivot to Africa is strategic for Minsk. It opens markets, diversifies export destinations, and builds diplomatic goodwill. For Ethiopia, the partnership is one of several diversification moves. Addis has engaged with China, Turkey, India, and others on infrastructure and manufacturing. This Belarus-Ethiopia move is consistent with both sides' broader strategies. Belarus seeking markets and influence, Ethiopia seeking technology, jobs, and local industry. Reporting on the topic has highlighted both the economic and diplomatic dimensions of the talks. A thoughtful listener would ask, how fast can this scale, and who benefits most quickly? Expect a multi-year timeline. The first year or two are for negotiations, site preparation, staff training, and pilot production runs. Early winners include factory workers, mechanics who receive training, local suppliers who win contracts, and mid-sized farms close to distribution hubs. Broader impacts, cheaper food, higher yields, and a full regional export program would take longer and depend on financing, government support, and market reception. Ethiopian officials themselves say they expect negotiations to conclude soon and hope for tangible progress in the near future. But near here still likely means months to years, not weeks. Let's zoom into some concrete benefits beyond the obvious. Climate resilience. Machines that enable timely planting and harvesting reduce crop losses from erratic rains. Value chain development. Local assembly encourages downstream services, transport, warehousing, repair shops, insurance products, even local sheet metal fabrication. Skill development. Technician schools and apprenticeship programs create higher-paid careers in industrial and mechanical trades rather than limiting youth to subsistence agriculture. Export potential. If Ethiopia becomes an assembly hub, neighboring countries like Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, and Djibouti could be natural markets, strengthening trade ties across the Horn and East Africa. These are not theoretical. They're the precise outcomes officials are publicly framing as the goals of the talks. Finally, let's address skeptics and make this a real conversation. A skeptic might say, "Isn't Belarus a risky partner right now?" And that's fair. Sanctions and geopolitical pressure can complicate access to parts or finance. Another skeptic might ask, why not partner with China or Europe? Truth is, different partners bring different strengths. Belarusian tractors have a reputation for ruggedness and cost-effectiveness. Chinese firms often bring scale. European firms bring advanced tech and certification. A pragmatic approach is to mix and match, leverage Belarus for mid-range, rugged models, and complement with other partners for electronics or precision tools. That hybrid model could reduce risk and broaden capability. So that's the story. A possible new factory, new jobs, and tractors rolling out across Africa built by Belarusian engineers and Ethiopian hands. It's about machines, yes, but more about people. Farmers, mechanics, entrepreneurs, and their hopes for a better harvest. If you found this useful, hit like, share it with someone who cares about food and jobs, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the deals that shape our world.